hopefully tonight you had the opportunity to learn a little bit about what we do, how we do it, how we work together, and then also about communication. At this time, we're going to open it up for questions, comments, thoughts. Maybe there's something that you'd like us to elaborate on, and we'll be happy to do that as much as we can. We also may not have been able to address a question or a comment that something that maybe is on your mind. So what we'd like for you to do, we are recording this, so we would like for you to, we have 2 mics here, one on either side. I'd like for you at least to come up, say your name, relationship to the district, either community member, staff member, parent, student, whatever the case may be, and as you ask the question or comment, we'll have the right person respond. So, what questions can we answer for you? We have time here. Feel free to, whoever would like to go first. It only takes one person to start, and then we'll go from there. Thank you, sir. Right on up. Hopefully this mic will be hot here. They're saying it will. Thank you for coming.
I'm kind of disappointed that more people didn't show up.
I agree. That's okay.
Jim McGrath, a husband of a substitute teacher, is that key that is used a lot for classroom from the inside available to the subs?
Yes, it is. Greg, you want to talk about that? Some of the protocols? They are. The answer, quick answer is yes. I'll let him elaborate a little bit on it.
Yes, it is available to subs. And so we kind of have 2 different types of subs in our district. We have what we consider kind of our daily regular subs that are part of our district that typically sub in maybe a school or 2 schools where there are regular subs. So those principals, we talked about this in our safety and security committee, have identified those individuals, and they're actually given a lanyard as a sub with the key as part of that lanyard. They keep that, they hold on to it. The other types of subs that we have in our district are subs that are maybe just, they come for a day and they may not be back for several weeks. And so each of the schools has a lanyard with a key on it that they would just assign to that sub for the day. Maybe take a piece of identification or car keys or something as far as making sure that that lanyard with the key comes back to it. But just so that our staff have it, but then any of our temporary staff or subs are also well equipped to be able to do the same procedures that we would ask our regular teachers to do.
It's a great question with substitutes. Come on up as we're transitioning here. Training our substitutes is critical. Not only in safety and security, but in all kinds of different things. In fact, that was one of the lessons learned when we did have that incident that Dave referenced a few years ago here at Barrington High School, where we probably had not done a good enough job in that arena. Where some of the subs didn't know exactly where to take the kids, how to prepare for a lockdown drill, things like that. So we've been running training sessions in the summertime with all of our subs as we onboard them, and also our student teachers, any of our guest teachers that aren't part of our permanent faculty and staff. So it's a great question. It's a lesson learned that we found out the hard way a little bit, and we've gotten better at it. We're continuing to work on it. Next question. Thank you.
I'm Cheryl Bartel, the mom of a sophomore in high school and an 8th grader. And I had a question about the new ID cards with the barcode on them. And could you give us some more details on how those are going to work moving forward? Thank you.
Sure. Greg, you want?
Sure. The first thing I want to say with ID cards is if you don't have a child here at the high school, this was a pretty hot topic this last week as we've switched to actually having kids use their ID to get into the building. I want to reiterate, there is no GPS tracking in the cards, so it's not used for tracking purposes, which was some of the rumor that was going around the high school this past week. They're not used for that. So, but what they are used for is for us to be able to have an accounting of who has come into the building and is on campus. So that's why we've implemented those ID cards for that purpose. We're trying to take it slow. We're trying not to make it a situation where it's contentious with students. We're not trying to create that kind of environment, but getting them in the habit of actually using the ID cards to check in. I know Mr. McWilliams is also looking at going to like a lanyard system and eventually even rolling it out for buses. So there's kind of a progression that we're going to go through this fall. We're starting that here at the high school, and then we are looking at how we would then implement similar procedures at our elementary and middle schools.
I think as a society in the bigger picture becomes more digitized, right? And it's just it's almost like a life skill, being able to do that too. And I think that's a piece of this. Digital age citizenship is a big topic that we're focused on with the use of devices and what it really means. And I think there's some life skills there involved too. But we really wanted to consolidate that all into, attendance factor, the library, food service, the transportation, all the major functions in the building. Students will have the ability to swipe in and out and do the different things. So I think that's the intent. We don't want to get into power struggles with kids. That's not what we're trying to do, and we certainly want to work with them and not, and not get into those challenges. So it's a new journey for us, and we're continuing to, work on that as well. Next question.
If we were to transfer to the lanyard system, would students such as myself, would we be allowed to bring our own lanyards, or would we be required to wear the ones given to us by the district?
Great question.
I think to start, we're looking at having a standardized lanyard. So we would have a similar look, because what it's really used for is the lanyard is for us to have a quick visual as to who's in the building, so that we can readily recognize that this student belongs. We may be able to let students customize their lanyard with buttons and things like that to kind of make it more individual, but as far as the lanyard itself, our starting point is to actually have a consistent lanyard so that we know that those students actually belong on campus. That's our first intent.
And students, you probably noticed that all the faculty were the black ones. We all have them. Every building in the school district. Substitute teachers have a different color, and then visitors to the building also have a different color. So with students, we're going to really focus on one particular color as well. And then, like Dr. Winkleman said, we'll let you decorate them. I know that'll happen. And faculty does it now as well. So it is something we're going to continue to work together with you and try to make sure it's an effective change.
Patrick Smith. I have a first grader and a fifth grader at Huff Street School. I can say, the student who just asked the question, in corporate America, we have, see back there, in corporate America, we kind of do the same thing. I work at a corporate university, and we have the same color lanyard by rule. So
it's a life skill, right?
It's for the right reasons. But you ask those questions because they're the right questions to ask and make sure that you can customize things as you may see fit and be allowed to. I have one comment, observation about the topic that we're talking about tonight and beyond tonight, and a couple of questions. They're not related. If we follow up with them afterwards, I'm okay with that. The observation comment is, outside of Dallas, a colleague of mine over the weekend had something similar to what you were describing with Facebook, perhaps misinformation being out there. There was something posted on social media. Parents got involved over the weekend. This is Sunday, just 2 days ago. And it may have spiraled out of where it should have been. There was a hit list of students at a school that was posted on Facebook. A person was indicating that they were going to go to that school and do harm. I don't know what the actual situation was. I didn't talk with my colleague today, but yesterday as a mother, she was very shaken up. And so that misinformation is real. I hope that we don't have to ever deal with anything like that here. And I appreciate what you guys are all doing to make us more safe and be able to respond appropriately.
It's a great comment, and I'll just comment briefly. Unfortunately, we do. Sometimes we do have those circumstances. We had a couple last year, one in each middle school. We also had an incident at Barrington High School. And some of them are more real than others, but that we were able to react along with our police departments and quickly determine, A, is it real? B, is it a real threat? What's really happening and what's going on? But I think we've got the right procedures and processes in place to respond quickly. So that's a reality. There's no boundaries for that issue, unfortunately. And ironically, in one of the particular situations, there was a threat that was VHS is getting shot up. The VHS, it originated down in the Southwest somewhere in part of the United States and in Mexico or Texas. But how quickly, instantly that switched. And the next thing you know, it was perceived to be Barrington High School, which really had no basis. So it's just an example of how quickly something can evolve. But we jumped on that and resolved it real quickly and certainly communicated it as quickly as we could once we found out what the source was. So just an example of how something can evolve so rapidly.
So something we talked about with our middle school principals and our high school principals just a couple weeks ago in one of our administrative meetings was emphasizing that as part of our digital citizenship training, that very aspect of making sure what you post online is appropriate and doesn't instill fear and think before you post and all that, because we know more and more kids now have access to smartphones and devices, and we feel like that's part of our responsibility to make sure that we're including that kind of instruction even to that level of having those conversations with kids about what you post and the harm that can come from it, and really having those open discussions with them as part of our training for them.
Corporate America isn't really any different. We do the same stuff, right? We gotta be careful we post online too. Okay, my 2 questions. The first one is, what messages do you have for us as parents for the younger kids? A lot of this is focused on what I seem to understand to be older kids, high schoolers. I've got a first grader, so what message do we have that you might be able to share with us this evening and as we move forward? The second question is, outside of the school, I mean, as we look at this slide right here, that's a street sign with people crossing the street. That's probably not on school property. So kids get to school each day and they go home from school each day. What are the things that we're doing from a safety perspective in the village and with 220? So very specifically, one of the observations that I have, this ties into the information we sent out about Blueprint 220, and seeing redesign and reconfiguration for driveways and drop-offs and egress and whatnot. So that's something that I focus on. I wonder if you could share any information about that as well, please.
You want to talk about the younger students first, and then we'll let Dave maybe comment on the community safety piece?
Sure. So, we know that this can be a difficult topic. I'm trying to talk about, safety in schools and just the national dialogue around this topic. So we've tried to scale it. Obviously, as we do our law enforcement drills and talk about lockdowns and implementing the run, hide, fight procedures, we talk differently with our kids. So from a parent perspective, we're having conversations with our younger students about if something happened at the school, please follow the teacher's direction. That may be run, it may be hide, it may be fight. And the fight may look very simple at an elementary school level versus what it may look like in a high school classroom, what a high school teacher is asking a child to do. So as far as talking to your child at home as a parent, I would stress the fact that the teachers are trained in what to do if anything were ever to happen in the schools, and the best thing they can do is actually follow the directions of the teacher, because the teacher's going to be the one that's going to be with them immediately in the classroom and giving them that instruction on how to respond. And I want to emphasize that we're trying to tailor that message and not scare the younger kids, but saying it in a very simple way. Just follow your teacher's lead. I may give you different directions, or you may not just lock down in this classroom. That message looks different than in high school, where a high school teacher may say, I need your group of students, can you help me move these file cabinets in front of the door? I feel like our best option right now is to barricade ourselves in, and you can do that with older students, or I need you to help me, make sure that this classroom that no one enters, or things like that. So we're kind of tailoring the message differently.
I think one other aspect for parents is a great question for younger students. It is something, because age-appropriate awareness is so critical here. And it's something to think about and talk about all the time. One of the things, too, is for parents to have the conversations with their kids, And I think the other piece is encourage your kids. If they see something they know not innately is wrong, tell them no. It's very simple, but I'll tell you, a lot of kids don't do that. The ones who do is how we generally find out about stuff. Especially at the elementary levels. Elementary kids are so brutally honest. They'll just share. Teacher, I saw, Johnny or Susie or whatever doing this and that. I mean, that's what happens all the time. So I would encourage, your kids to see something, say something. That's really targeted to our teenage crowd. It is perfect for a kindergarten or first grader as well. If you see something you know is not right, or something that is unsafe, or if you see a friend doing something that is hurting somebody else, let them know. It's pretty simple, but I think it's the most effective. It really is. I'll let Dave comment about a little of the community safety.
So things that start with the school pickups and drop-offs. Just recently, we've been to, off the top of my head, we've been to Prairie, St. Anne, just to observe pickup and drop-off. The early learning center as well, just to make sure that if we can enforce or make recommendations on some of the issues or change the practices of parents, and we've partnered with the school to send out communications specifically related to Prairie Middle School and St. Anne, so that the late start is a good example of that. When we went to a late start, it altered a lot of the patterns of pickup and drop-off that we were involved with the schools on, which also kind of went into the community For an example, with parking for the high school, we had to change all the signage around the school just to make sure that the parking times were in line with some of the enforcement, some of the safety with buses getting through and people's parking practices. But we're constantly changing and adding and removing signage. And, we also have targeted enforcement where we'll do kind of a specialized traffic enforcement, and we'll put somebody out there. The Canadian National Rail crossing as well by the high school, we added some signage there and did an education and enforcement blitz there. This week we're out at the train station and all the crossings for Rail Safety Week, just basically targeting those areas because a lot of that foot traffic in the schools and commuters is a big deal in the community. We do a lot each day in that area, from my office on down to patrol to investigations, to a key here in the school, so it's hard to kind of go over all of it, but we're constantly, we constantly receive, which is really good to be in a community like this. We receive complaints, but we also receive a lot of calls saying, hey, look, just a heads up, this is what's going on here, you might want to take a look at it, so we try to address it as much as possible within the law and within reason. Does that answer your question, Ben?
One other final piece, you asked about our master facility plan, so I want to take this opportunity to jump in on that. If you looked at some of our concept drawings that we worked with our district architect on, at almost every site we went to over the last year when we had conversations with parents and community members, traffic is the #1 issue. You know, this building, high school, anybody that's here at 8 in the morning or at 3:30 in the afternoon, you know, I avoid it at all possible. I know it's not going to go well, and it's a lengthy process getting in and around this site. The middle schools, Dave already mentioned Prairie, you know, that's the most difficult site because Prairie only has one way in and one way out off of Dundee Road. Highway 68, it's very challenging, 2-lane highway, no shoulders. It's a very challenging site to get buses and cars and in and out on a timely basis. Station's a little easier because, you know, we have multiple access points there. You know, around the building, it's in the village area, it's a little easier to, I know a lot of kids meet their parents 2 blocks away and that type of thing, but that's great, and that really helps with the congestion around it. Now, individual elementary schools, you know, we have specific thoughts and concepts that we're looking at each building. The ones that come to my mind immediately are North Barrington, where we're looking at a new access point and extended parking lot. Also the countryside, looking to possibly have a second exit off of that property, again, Lakewood Road. Right now it's the only in and out there. Very challenging, depending on the time of the day. So, and, you know, that's just limiting. So we're looking at possibly having an exit out to the east side of that property. So I think, and I can talk about other, but each one of them has traffic circulation / you know, issues. They're all safety related, every one of them. Making sure the pedestrians stay in the right path, the cars and buses, you know, that are handled effectively. So it is something we work with our architects and engineers and village personnel to make sure that it makes sense. If we do any of those site work on any of those properties that, you know, the voters would approve in the springtime, then we'll certainly make those changes. And the board's going to be working hard over the next several months to determine what might be included in that plan. So it is a priority. It is very important. Next question.
My name is Master David Garrison. I have 2 children with Barrington High School. I've been teaching martial arts in town for over 30 years. And my school is Barrington Tiger Academy. I'm in Foundry across the street. And I'd like to offer some of my skills and my abilities, especially for the active shooter stuff. I've been working on a lot of things. I was really happy to hear you guys have gone with Run, Hide, Fight. I got some great ideas as far as strategy for time. Time is the biggest killer when it comes to those situations. So if there's anything I can do to assist or help you guys, I've been in town a long time, and both my kids went to school here. So
Appreciate that. Thank you.
help you guys.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, the Run, Hide, Fight that Dave mentioned before, that is the Homeland Security model that we chose to take that path, and it gives kids options. It gives staff options in the building. So I appreciate your offer. We may follow up on that. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm a parent, and I was just curious, how do you communicate to the parents not to come to school if God forbid something did happen? Because I've never heard that. That would be my first reaction
So on that last slide, with that gun incident that I highlighted, that was one of the mistakes we made. We weren't quick enough with that communication. We felt at the time that we can't communicate what we don't know, when realistically all we had to say was, we're investigating something, please, so if stay away from the school at the end of the message, or to say something, we are investigating it, please, I guess we'll communicate when we know more. So that message didn't come out until it was kind of too late. The parents were already coming to the scene. So we learned from that, so that message through the districts, I don't know what you guys call it.
Infinite Campus or student
Yeah, so
information system.
we call it Everbridge or our reverse 911. We would push it out in conjunction with the school.
So to answer your, yeah, that's exactly right. Good point, Dave. That was one of the lessons learned when we had an incident here at this building a few years ago. And even if we send out a brief message that just says there's an incident at Barrington High School or at Station Middle School or whatever the case may be, and we'll get you more information as soon as we get it. It is so hard to figure out. But what's happening is, especially at the older kids, they're texting right away. If we go on lockdown, they'll text their parents or whoever and say, something's up at the school. And then that's what, and before we can even react, parents are calling, it jams up the phone lines, and it just really creates some challenges for us. So I think one of the key takeaways here is we will communicate. The first and foremost, anytime we go into a lockdown mode or if we have some type of an active situation, we have to follow. And it seems like a long time, but it may take 5-7 minutes. I think we even, in that situation, we even communicate within about 12 to 15 minutes. Yeah, but that wasn't good enough. We already had some challenges. We already had parents pulling up on Lake Cook Road and whatnot across the lawn. It's like we didn't even have the situation identified completely, and people were concerned about what was going on here. So it was a challenge. I don't know if that answers it. Is there anything else specifically?
Just more of like preventative instead of reactive,
Yeah.
Just so you guys know if anything does happen.
We will communicate. I think we're equipped to. We've got the tools to do it, and we will do it. I think that's something we're continuing to work on internally to get better at as quickly as we can. So thank you.
Hi, this one Mark. I'm Dan Sharper, rep two parents, two kids in the high school. I wanted to say more about this notice sign you're talking about. I think what you're trying to say is to keep the parents away from the school is the right thing. The problem is doesn't work with human nature. I mean, what you're really saying is to the parents, do nothing, trust us. That's never going to work. What the parents really should do is they should be here tonight. Because if the worst happens, there's nothing the parents can do. But you need to give the parents something to do, okay? It's human nature. Don't tell them, trust us, do nothing. You gotta give them something to do. Like in the movies, when a woman is in labor, they say, go boil water. It's not because they need boiling water, it's because they need to give the dad or whatever something to do. Okay, so you need to tell people what websites to go on, exactly what to do.
You're absolutely right. That's some of that instant communication that we can try to work on. In other words, what can you do? Check the website in 5 minutes and we'll have more information. Or did they watch 5 minutes or whatever the case may be, right? Something like that.
Now, I had a couple of quick questions about those keys. I don't know if you're allowed to say whether they unlock the door on both sides. But if they do, I don't know if you want the bad guy to know that.
No, they're for an interior door lock. So that's what they're using. It's from inside the room.
Okay. And another thing I'm concerned about is the first thing to go under major stress is fine motor skills. How are you going to get that little key in the keyhole? Okay.
So just to kind of follow up on that, I don't know if everyone in the room understands why that was an important feature. So one of the things we recognized was that our doors used to lock from the outside. So if there's a bad situation happening in the hallway, our teachers were going out in the hallway in some situations to be able to lock the doors and then go back in the room. So now the door can remain closed and we can quickly lock it. They are designed, they are an oversized key on purpose so that you can readily find that. You're not fumbling a bunch of keys. And then as Chief Jordan mentioned, the way that we get good at it is by practicing and drilling, being able to use the key.
Okay, one last question or comment has to do with first aid. I think, and I bumped talking to Eva Dedloff, she's the head nurse for the district, and I asked her, I said, have the teachers been trained on how to apply a tourniquet, how to pack a wound? She said, no. And I said, I think all the teachers need to be trained because the first responders or even the nurses, the building's going to be locked down. They're not going to be able to get into that classroom right away. And if there's a child bleeding out, the teacher needs to know what to do. There has to be the right equipment in the room. So I think you need to support Eva because she wanted to do something about it.
Well, actually,
We are.
Yeah,
We are. Let Craig talk about it.
So it didn't even make the presentation because this is so new. This year we're doing 2 more critical incident drills. So we've trained starting 4 years ago at Barrington High School. We started with the high school staff simulating an active shooter situation, how we would respond. Then we did the middle schools. We brought both middle school staffs together at Station Campus and practiced there. And then the year before, we actually had our elementary teachers trained and we used Roslyn Road School as our site. This year we're revisiting that same concept and we're actually doing the middle school this fall, except this time we're going to do the drill at Prairie Campus on November 2nd. And on November 2nd, something that's different than what we did the first 3 times that we did the training is actually we're going to go through a simulation, different, how would you respond during an active shooter, and go through that drill. But then in the afternoon, in addition to debriefing the situation and lessons learned, we're actually going to be training our middle school teachers in emergency first aid. That's something that's new, so it's right in line with that thinking of making sure that if there's things that our teachers can do to help if individuals, students, other faculty, if people were injured in that situation, that we can provide some emergency first aid. In addition, we have emergency backpacks that we've been using for a number of years. They're kind of like your to-go bag if you were in an emergency situation. One of the things that we just ordered was actually a kit that's designed for that very purpose, to be able to apply emergency first aid. And so we've already ordered those, and we're going to actually put those in our backpacks as only part of our training. Bruce, did you want to speak to that at all? Because that's something that you're going to help us with.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Come on up, Bruce.
Hey everybody, round of applause, Bruce Peterson.
I didn't earn a seat up there, so thank you for the question. Yeah, as a fire department, we're real proud of this. We have 3 firefighters specifically being trained this month, actually in a train-the-trainer program to teach all the teachers in emergency first aid, hemorrhage control, tourniquets, along that line. So yeah, the teachers can do something before the paramedics get there. And it's a great initiative. And we're real proud of that. I'm not sure other school districts are at that point yet, but we're real proud that we can take that step to get every teacher, every administrator, every sub trained in first aid.
Yeah. That's something new. That's something, a great comment, Dan, and appreciate that. And it's something that kind of evolving here. Again, I think unfortunately, each incident, as they occur across the country, like Parkland, Florida, there's lessons learned, and that was one of the takeaways of that. It really was, and unfortunately, and very sad, but it is something that, we have to, when we debrief and we learn and try to do better, to ever be prepared for the unthinkable in any of our schools.
In addition, Eva doesn't even know this yet, but I was just on the phone yesterday, and I'm going to follow up with Eva, is that Advocate Good Shepherd is also offering emergency first aid training, and we talked with them that they're going to allow us to have some of our nurses from our district actually join that training next month. So again, a trainer model, so that our nurses are trained and can pass them on to our faculty as well.
Any other questions? Right up, thank you.
Hi, my name is Patty Kazas. I have a son in kindergarten. My question for you guys was around the resource officers. It sounds like there's one in the high school. Are there plans to add additional resource officers in the middle schools and elementary schools?
I'll take that. The quick answer to your question is, are there any plans? No, we currently do not have any plans. However, it is something we are constantly thinking about and focusing on. Obviously, I mentioned it earlier, we have different jurisdictions in the 72 square mile school district. We work with 5 different police departments. 8 of our 12 schools are in the village. Hence why we work very collaboratively with the village of Barrington here. So each scenario is a little different. I mean, there is a cost factor, and you have to determine also where that, the value benefit is, right? We also know that we have a very short response time at all of our other schools. At Countryside and Barrington Hills, or even here in the village, it's very quick. The school resource officer also does serve as a liaison many times in our other levels, whether it's at the middle school level, both middle schools and our elementaries. Craig, do you want to add anything else there?
Another step, at both our middle school campuses as well as the high school, we have what we call campus attendants, and so there are additional paraprofessional security, and we've been very intentional about trying to hire people that are either former paramedics, firemen, police, sheriff's officers, and so we actually do at all three of those locations have current employees that serve in those roles that can also then be on a part of our campus as well. So it's not the same thing as a school resource officer, but retired personnel that can help us in those situations.
It's something we talk about off and on, but we've never gotten it. In the past, I think years ago, there was a middle school resource officer here. That was 20 years ago, and that kind of went away. There was an educational component was part of that, and then it's just evolved over time. I have not seen that scaling at the K-8 level, and a lot of communities around, and just do it in other ways, as we've been talking about this evening. Question?
Hi, I'm a parent of a high schooler here. Other than you were talking about school safety from 8:30 to like 3:30 when the school's out, is there security around here for after-school activity? Because my daughter has after-school activity until like close to 5:45 here. And also, this upcoming homecoming weekend, I'm sure there's some sort of security. I mean, we don't know that. Maybe there's undercover. You said there's something that you can't say, so I was just kind of concerned with the doors are being open here by the gym area. So
Great questions. That's a constant challenge here,
yeah,
especially at this building.
Exactly.
It is.
I'm just kind of having concern with other than past 3:30,
Sure.
especially with the winter time being dark right now.
Absolutely.
Winter time.
Do you want to comment first, Craig, or you?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, let me answer a couple of questions, and if I forget something, refresh me and I'll. We do have campus attendants here at the high school. I'm looking for Steve. I know they were here when I walked in this evening.
Until 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock?
9 o'clock or later, based on
Okay.
what's going on.
I knew they were here. We don't have as many as we do during the day, but we have somebody at each of the main entrances, or also ones that block the campus. And they also are assigned to areas where we know we have activities going. In other words, we know we've got something happening in a particular location in the stadium, and here, any of the larger areas, and we obviously pay special attention to that. The other thing is video screens. This school has a lot of cameras, and I'm not going to go into detail on it, other than I will tell you, we have a significant amount of cameras, and we have a very robust and currently upgraded way to manage and monitor that. Okay? So I can assure you we watch the videotape a lot, right, Jim? And we're able to really focus in on when we know we've got a breach or we've got something inappropriate happening. So I want to reassure the students that, now if we have a large event on campus, the SROs are here, the Barrington Police provide additional support on any large event that goes on in this campus, especially like Friday night, something like that, where we know we've got a significant amount of activity. And they're great about providing us additional resources for that purpose when we have those.
Jim, anything else from the high school facility perspective?
The doors, our building, we open the doors at 7:30 a.m. Automatically, and that's when someone's at the door. Before that, the doors are locked. We have someone at the 4 entrances at the high school where they can come in only 4 ways this year. That's new. It's worked out fantastic in my eyes. It's worked out great. I don't think there's been that much of a delay with students getting in the building. Once the doors open, they can come in on time schedule, the buses and everything else. And then they're actually closed the rest of the school day ends, and then we open up certain doors that we know can be used throughout certain times. And people walk around based on how long the events are going on that evening, or even on the weekends when there's activities on the weekends.
And our campus attendants on those off hours, they're monitoring through video surveillance by the building, all the key spots in the building, and can get to anywhere if they dial it.
Just one more comment. This is very
Well, I will, we'll stick around if there's individual questions you may have with any of us. I want to thank everybody. For those of you that did come, great questions, great comments. Thank you for your feedback, your thoughts. It gives us some things to think about as we continue to plan. This is a journey. It's not a destination when it comes to school safety and security. And we're always working, we're always open to suggestions and thoughts and looking for opportunities to improve. So again, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. And like I said, we'll stick around if you have any questions. All right, have a good evening.